So when all of us will be available, you will be given time, say 10 to 15 minutes to present whatever work that you have done, whichever topic that you have picked. 10 to 15 minutes time would be given. So before the presentation or the time will be given, but for the timing, you consider that the duration will be 15 minutes. Let's think that way. If it is less than that, you can always reduce your slide or you can reduce your content, right? It's better. So when you are starting, just think it's 15 minutes. So typically, like, 10 to 12 minutes, you keep it for the presentation. Next 2 to 3 minutes, you keep it for the question answer. Okay. So let's say you are preparing for 12 minutes of the presentation. So you have to give a presentation and then there will be a follow-up questions. So for that, there are certain ways to make a presentation. I'm very sure, like, in your BTech, when you have done your project, you must have given some presentation. So you have already done a presentation, but there are some basic difference is there for the technical presentation and the general presentation that we have, right? So today we will just discuss what is a technical presentation and how it is a little bit different from the regular presentation that you have already probably made in your BTech curriculum. Okay. So first of all, when you are giving any technical presentation, there are certain consideration that you have to make. So I will start with some very basics. First, you can see a slide. Probably, when you attended the class of runway design, you probably have seen this slide, but you haven't probably paid attention to different things that is typically there in a technical presentation. Whenever you are giving a presentation, first, you have to pick a PPT, right? You have to make a PPT. When you make a PPT, first you have to pick a theme. When you go to MS Microsoft PPT, they will recommend lot of default template. Let me show you how the default templates work. So let's say I would like to make PPT, say I just go to PowerPoint. Okay. So when I start a PowerPoint, I get to see different kinds of presentation here, right? There's a blank presentation, then there is a different theme of the presentation that you will see. Now, probably if your office is updated, you will see the similar type of theme. If it is not, depending on the version that you have, it will give you some recommendation which one you want to take. Let's say you want to take this one. So if you click that, you're going to get a theme of this PPT. Okay. You can keep adding new and new slide and you can keep adding new and new content here and you can make a presentation, right? So this is how you can select a theme. You open a PPT and you get this. Most of you know it. There is, I mean, this is kind of, it looks very redundant, but like be little patient because slowly we'll pick up. So whenever you're picking a theme, make sure the theme that you're picking, it is somehow related to the topic that you're presenting. If you are presenting something on soil stabilization, you will obviously not pick a theme where the aircraft is flying, right? It doesn't make any sense. So whenever you're picking a theme, make sure that it has the right context. Okay. Typically, when you're making a general presentation, that doesn't matter much. So if I'm going to make a general presentation here, I can pick a name here. Let's say course and marks. Okay, this could be a very general presentation. Okay, so I can make something like this. So this is a very general presentation. Whichever theme that you pick, it's a general presentation. But when you are making a technical presentation, that means there are certain details you need to put. I'm going to show you a title. This is a title page that you see. This is one of the student has made earlier time. It doesn't have to be same, but first, there is no basic theme. You see, it's a plain PPT. It doesn't have any theme. You can start with a blank slide and then you can keep adding that. Whenever you're making a technical presentation, make sure that you write the title. You make sure you write your name, make sure you put your roll number. This may not be applicable for you. You You provide all those necessary details. See, if I'm making a presentation of this, I do not need to make it. So this is my general presentation and this is my technical presentation. So whenever you're giving a technical presentation, make sure that the first slide, this slide is called your title slide. Okay. First slide, whichever slide that you see, probably have seen like, many of the professors when they are giving lectures, you probably have seen that it always starts with a title slide. So the first one is title slide. When you are making the PPT, the first title slide, mention your name carefully and write your name, roll number, which department do you belong to, mention it carefully. Many of the students, what they do, they simply do not care. They just put the title and that's it. Like as if rest of the people will know everybody. It is not the way the technical presentations are made. Okay. So first thing, I talked about theme. Whichever theme that you are picking, make sure the theme is somehow connected to the topic that you're discussing. You can pick a completely blank theme and you can start working on that. If not, if you want, you can make a theme. There are so many themes available in MS Team, which, sorry, not MS Team, MS Office, PPT. There are a lot of themes, default themes you will get. Uh, since you're doing for the first time, you're learning it for the first time, what I will encourage you to do, you can just simply go to Google and you can just simply, write PPT template free. There are a lot of good templates you will find. Okay. So there are many simple template you will find. If it matches with the theme that you are working on, you can simply download and you can carry forward with your that. Okay. It sometimes gives you a better visuals. It makes it attractive. Think if 21 students are making the same black and white thing, it will look monotonous, right? So sometimes depending on your choice, you can put a little bit of subtle color. There are a lot of templates which are available online. There are a lot of template which will be suggested by Office, Microsoft PPT, it will default suggest. So pick your theme carefully. Number one, point number one. Point number two, title slide we talked about. Whenever you're putting title slide, make sure that the first thing that you put, that is going to be your title, nothing else. Many people may think that you will write your name here and then you will write title. Don't do that. First, always mention the title. When a person look at the title slide, the person should be easily, I mean, the title should be such that first it catches the eyes. Okay. So you can see whenever I'm in this slide, the first thing that comes in your eyes is what is the name of the course, right? And you see rest of the details here. Make a note. You do not see any page number on the first slide. In a title slide, there is no page number. There are many students sometimes they miss it how to do it, but first title slide, it will never have any page number. Okay. Have you ever seen like any book you pick on the title page, on a cover page, do you see any page number? You don't see any page number. The page number starts happening from the first page onwards. The title page or cover page, it never have any page number, right? So similar to that in a technical presentation, if you're making, make sure there is no slide number on the first or title slide. Okay. Next, when you're giving any technical presentation, next slide is going to be content. What are things that you are going to discuss in this presentation? Okay. First, obviously, you are going to give some idea about this, like introduction. Then, what are you trying to find? What is the literature? What is the result that you have found? There could be different section of that, right? So, which order you are going that you should put in the next slide? Okay. So, slide number one is going to be your title slide. It will not have any page number. Slide number two, onwards, you will have a page number. And the page number has to be a right side bottom, not top. Here, whatever you see, it's wrong actually. The page number you never see on the top. Do you see on the top in the book? You rarely see on the top. You see in the right. Typically, on the bottom, you see in the middle, or on the left, or on the right. You do not see on the top. So the page number actually, the slide number starts from the second one, and this number will be at the bottom. Okay. Here, whichever major head that you have, you lay down it one by one. In this order, you will continue your presentation. Okay. So until this point, do you have any question? Any question? Okay. I assume there is no question. So now you have set how should you proceed in your entire presentation. Next slide, you are going to put introduction, because you here talked about the first point. You see here, you talked about the introduction, right? So next slide, the first thing that you're going to put is introduction. And from here onwards, every slide going to have the slide number, and everything is going to be there at the bottom. If I just take you there on any the slide that you have seen during the class, you see there is no page number, no slide number. But you see, this is where I have started. It's not a technical presentation, it's a class presentation. So I have not put the content. If it would have been uh, a like a technical presentation, then I would have mentioned the content. And you see at the right bottom in the very small font, you get to see number 2 here. See slide number, henceforward, you see the slide number is going, right? As long as you go, you get to see the slide number changing, right? So the slide number has to be there for every single slide without missing it. Why it is important? Because you see, when you will give the presentation, the audience will be sitting in front of you. And if the audience is going to have any question, he or she will mark the slide number. After your presentation, the audience will say, can you go to slide number 6? What is here? I'm not able to understand. Can you explain that? This is how it works in technical presentation. So it's very, very important you give the slide number. So I think I have emphasized that point enough. And I hope when you give your presentation, you put the page number, or sorry, the slide number the way I have shown you. Okay. So about the theme selection, there is one more point here. You see this, most of the slide that you see during the class that I've shown, it's mostly white background, right? There is a reason for that. It's not that always you have to pick white background, but there is a reason for that. So what happens when you, I'm expecting that you will give a presentation. um I'm expecting you will give the presentation in the class offline mode. And if you're giving in offline mode, what happens? There will be a slide projected. It will project it in a white screen, right? So in white screen, in that mode, if the background is dark, it will be sometimes difficult to follow it. Okay. So because of this reason, try to pick light theme, light background. So this is called background. What you see is that this is the background color, right? So make sure the background color that you are picking, it's somewhat light. It should not be dark. Okay. This is the reason. If you are giving like online, it really doesn't matter because you're not projecting on anything, right? You will be giving online. So when there is no projector, there is no focus. So there is no problem of reading. But for offline, it is always better to do it in a light background. Anyway, now I'll just go to Kills presentation. Where is that? Yeah. So then each slide that you see here, when I clicked it, you see there is a title. This is a box and this is a box. Every slide is going to have a title here. This title of the slide is introduction, right? So whenever you're writing this, make sure every slide that you're putting, it is the same color, same font, same size. That means if this is your Times New Romans, you see font 32 and you see the color is black. So next slide onwards, every slide that you're going to put your title, make sure that it is same font style, same font size, same color throughout for all the headings. This is called heading, right? This is going to be same. Now, each slide is going to have some heading. Okay, you cannot just next slide, you cannot just simply remove it. It doesn't work that way in a technical presentation. You cannot simply do this way because this has a heading, this doesn't have any heading. So the audience will wonder what are you talking about here. So what you do here, the ideal way of doing is, so this is your first slide, right? It is introduction, and when you move to the next one, introduction, this is the same slide, right? So what you do, you make this one, you can keep the same color, and you can write CNTD dot. That means the introduction actually continuing. This is what it means. This is how you will write the heading. You do not need to do that for your general presentation, but technical presentation, when you're making it, make sure that each slide is going to have a heading. And if the heading is continuing, make sure you're putting it, but write it CNTD. That means you're continuing that slide. Okay. This style that you have to completely follow throughout. See, this is literature review. In a literature review, you see the heading, right? Literature review continues. The heading appears, but it heading appears with CNTD, right? So this is how the slide will continue. If there is any heading that being repeated, you write CNTD dot. That will like uh, convey this message that something from previous you are continuing. Okay, next. How to put the heading? Now you're clear. Now let us come to the body. This is your body. In your PPT, this is your body. So in the
Sir,
body, yes,
sir, is it necessary to write continue in every page, sir?
not everything. See, if you are having the introduction, the first slide, you do not need to write.
Okay, sir.
This is the first slide. So why would you write it? Second
Okay,
slide onwards, you are continuing your previous one. So that is why you have to write that. Okay. So
sir.
that's about the heading. Let us come to the body of your PPT. So whenever you're making it, make sure for the body, you are using a similar type of font. That means if on slide number 2, you're using Times New Romans, make sure throughout your slide, your entire presentation, make sure that you're using the same font style, Times New Romans. Times New Romans is mostly used for writing books, writing reports, writing PPT. So, but there's not any mandate that you have to use any particular font style. But whichever font that you're selecting, make sure you be consistent throughout. It's not that this slide you put Times New Romans and the next slide you write it in Calibri. Don't do that. That will not be a technical presentation. So you can understand there are some special, you know, consideration when you're making any PPT. Now, whenever you made any report, I'm very sure I have told you how to put a caption of the table. For the table, you put the caption on the top. For the figure, you put the caption at the bottom. Figure 6, figure 5, table 1, table 2. You have learned that things and you have put that on your report. But for PPT, if you are putting any figure, you do not need to put any caption. Many people they make this mistake. They put caption here also, but it is not required. Okay. Table also, you do not need any caption. Whenever you're writing the body, in this body, already about the font I told you. And if you are writing anything, make sure you try to write in bullet points. So what people do, they don't work on PPT at all. So they think that report is done. My work is done. So just a day or night before the PPT, what they will do, they'll sit with the report and they'll copy paste everything on the PPT. That's not your PPT. That's not how technical presentation works. For technical presentation, you have to put your brain to make your slides. So in your report, I'm very sure in this report, there were a lot of discussion about the flexible payment. But in the flexible payment, you see there is no text here, only bullet points. So in PPT, you have the freedom of writing just simple small sentence. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct also. Okay. When you're writing bullet point, it will help you to explain the things on your own words. This is what the layer structure, when you talk about it, you explain it, but you do not write entire thing here. You just write some key points and then you explain it. This is what in the PPT you should be doing. So important thing in PPT, you never write a paragraph. You write only bullet points. Also, whenever you're writing this body, make sure you do not go below 22 fonts. Font size 22. You don't go below that. Why? There is a reason for that. So what people do when they have no idea, absolutely no idea, they are making general presentation, they just find some data from Wikipedia and then copy it and just simply they paste it. Just like that. Just like Control C, Control V, and they make presentation. See, if you do that, this not technical presentation, so it doesn't matter. General presentation doesn't matter. But think about that. The presentation will be given in front of a big audience, probably like in a big hall. You may have to give a presentation like that. And for that, if the font size is small, if you're copying a big paragraph and pasting it here, it will look like a teeny tiny 8 size, which you cannot see, right? So that is why you never reduce the font beyond 22. If in extreme case, you can make it 18, but never go below that. Ideal font size, 22. Don't go below that. Okay. So this is your about your font style. I told you about the font size. Also, I told you. And why you should not do it. The reason also it's very clear to you, right? Now about the color. This is a technical presentation. So you will not use any random color. Like it's not that in this slide, you feel that, okay, fine, I'll just put a deep blue and next slide I'll put a red. Don't do that. Try to follow a color scheme. Sometimes you need to change the color to highlight certain things, right? Those things you can do with the help of color, but don't just put any color and every color, whichever you feel to looking good. This is a technical presentation, so make sure that people expect some level of, you know, your color scheme, how you're presenting, all those things matter. So about the color, I told you, you should not use some random color, follow a scheme. If you're using two colors, like your entire slide in the text, that should be two colors, or maximum you can use three colors. There's no problem, but it should not be repeated. The main color you can pick black, some for highlighting purpose, you can put it maybe blue, right? If it is on the white background, if it is like say a gray background, you can pick the color which suits well, right? So think about that and do it. So that is why I'm telling you, um, at least you will have weeks of time, not weeks of time, so that you can put your thoughts. This is probably the last time you will be learning how to do the technical presentation. Later on, you will, keep exploring, you will make it better. It will be the effort from your side, but initially to kick off the work, this is what you need to keep in mind. Okay. Now let's move ahead. Whenever you're putting a figure in a technical presentation, you have to put the source. If you make that graph, if you make the figure by yourself, it is fine. If you have not, then it is very important that you put a source. So what I will do, source, let's say a paper. Okay. Let's say Wu and Ching et al. 2019. This is the source of this figure. Don't simply copy and paste. That is your general presentation. Whenever you're making anything without any source, what does it indicate? It means that you have made it by yourself. So remember that any figure, any table that is not coming with a source, we will assume that you have made it. Okay. And obviously there will be questions, right? So make sure there should be source, both figures and tables. Then see in this slide, there is so much of empty space. You do not need to do that. You can put some extra. If there is a little bit more content you can put it. It's not that in a slide you put only one or two bullet point and you leave it. You do not do that. You make it in such a way that overall it looks good. Okay. And what typically many students do, they don't give any time for the presentation. They give a lot of time to make a report, but they don't give any time to make a PPT. There are so many smart options to do to make a PPT, and it doesn't take any time. There are smart art options, like say instead of writing um, these things, instead of writing these things in paragraph, what you can do, you can just simply put this, and maybe you can make help of this type of smart work. And you can just simply put this point, say layered structure, then image design, or linear elastic theory. You can simply, instead of that, if you put this, it looks visually more appealing, isn't it? So by looking at your PPT, anyone can guess how much time that you have put. If you are just simply copying and pasting everything from your report, obviously people will understand. If you are taking just a step beyond that, if you are using a proper bullet point with proper font, that means you have at least given some thought. If you are a little bit serious and if you want your work to be more attractive to the audience, you have to make sure that you are doing something different, because you can understand this, the objective of this, um, keeping this course, and like you are doing MTech, it's just not that you get good marks. That's not the objective you have. Obviously we want you to get good marks. We want you to be competent whenever you're going outside, when you're delivering a lecture, or like you, if you have been called for any presentation. When you speak, the way you present, that shows the brand of our college, right? So you represent the college. So there should be some difference between ABC college and you, right? So you make a conscious effort to make the PPT, the way you talk, the way you're referring, everything different, so that you stand out of the crowd. Everyone wants to be a little bit unique, so that you get the focus, right? So to get the focus, you have to do something a little bit different from the entire crowd that would be doing. It's your call, your decision. But never ever a copy post is allowed. If you can do it bullet point, you're welcome. If you do this way, there are different types of varieties of smart work. You can use it even better. Now it's your choice. So see, this is a figure. This figure doesn't have source. And this figure, there are multiple way of doing it. See, in this figure, what I can do, I can just remove each and everything, and then I can just simply put it this way. I can do that. It doesn't look good. I have already distorted the resolution of that. It's not looking good. I can do it when this figure is extremely, extremely important, and I want to talk about each and specific point of this loading. Then it makes sense to make this figure looking big. If that is not the case, why on the earth you will make it so big? There is no need as such, right? So make sure that the figure that you're putting, the size that you're using, that serves the purpose. Purpose is important. There is no standard definition. Okay, this should be the figure height, this should be the table height. There is no definition. It's your judgment. What is your goal? What, how much details that you want to go? That is how you put it. Okay. So when you talk about the introduction, see, I am going in the order of first: introduction, research objective, literature review, gap, methodology. If I come to the literature review, all of you have the literature review, right? So literature review, the way you want to summarize, for example, if you have done a case study on soil stabilization, right? So what you can do is you can present one or two case study. When you put case study one, then you talk about what people have done, right? So two, three case study you can use. How many slides that you are going to use, it's up to you. So typically this is how you can think. Since you're starting, later on you will get your own idea how many slides that you have to make. See, for talking, sometimes for 12 minutes you are going to be prepared. right? Now for 12 minutes talk, how many slide you will make, it depends on what is the content of your slide. If your one slide is talking about an entire story, like lot of story, lot of figures, lot of tables, obviously you will need more time, right? If it is just one liner, you will need probably 10 seconds, 20 seconds, not more than that. So how many slides you will make, that is up to you. If you want to make very short slide, your slide number may increase. If you want to make it like very congested, probably 5 6 slides should be good enough. But for you, when you're starting, at least for 12 minutes, I'm expecting for each slide, like 12 slide, the first title slide, don't count, because you're not going to talk a lot. You were just going to talk that you will introduce yourself, that what is your name and you are working on this topic. It will hardly take 10 seconds or 15 seconds, not more than that, right? So do not consider the first title slide, and do not consider the thank you slide, right? Except this two, whatever content that you are having, from there you only count. And for 12 slide, at least it's good to have 12. I mean, I typically, like, the way I put it, I will take like 50 to 70 seconds to talk about a slide. So that is how I will make it. So how many slides you need? When you make the slide, you give a trial, you will understand that how long you're talking. There is no easy way, there is no single formula how many slides you will make. It depends on your skill, your presentation, how long you want to take. But you have to do the trial, and you have to understand how to cut short or how to increase. Okay, so I'll not talk anything more on that. Okay, so see, scope of the study. See, this has been done using smarter. What you could do is just simply can copy and paste. Instead of that, you can do it in a bullet point. But if you do this, it looks good, right? You can change the color scheme. There are so many things that you can do. So that is why choose a decent color also. So overall, it will look good. Okay. Now, you do not pick any color which will make your text difficult to read. You will never make such things. What is your idea? Your idea is to make your slide visible and readable to people. When you talk, your audience, your judge should be able to follow you. That is amazing. I mean, that is why you're making PPT, right? So make sure that you do that also. Color scheme, font style, already I talked about. When you're ending, always put selected reference. Selected reference means, for some of the report, when I was checking, 5 or 6 reference only, which is also not good. And many of you actually didn't follow the reference style. We talked about the reference style in details. We give an example, the recorded video was there. Many of you didn't follow. So anyway, that happens. So those who have followed, well and good. Those who have not followed, probably it's a time. At least you can make the correction in your PPT. There, you cannot put so many references. So that is why you write selected reference and you put it for this slide. You can forget about 22. You can get a little bit of relaxation, because people are not going to read each and every line, because it's reference, right? So for the reference slide, you can have a little bit relaxation on the font size. But again, font style is going to be same. Times New Roman is going to be same throughout your PPT. Last slide, typically the student put thank you or question and answers or anything. Now, there are certain things that you need to put depending on your work. Introduction you're going to have, you may have the research objective. What are you trying to find out from the student? When you study this, what was your motivation? What is the literature review that you have found? What kind of case study that you have checked? Then you're going to discuss about the result, that different papers or different places you have found. What is the conclusion that you have found? Project timeline you do not have, right? So then you will end up with selected reference. So that is the typical layout. I think I have covered most of the things. I'll just give you one example of the table. Let's see here. I think on the screen you get to see a table. So in this table, first, what are the things that comes in your eyes? So first, results and discussions. It's continued. That means it started before, right? No, I think it didn't start before. After methodology, they're showing result and discussion. So there should not be CNTD. The second slide, when you're writing in the head, you're going to have CNTD. Anyway, this is a table that we are talking about. See, in this table, a color has been picked. So any table that you're going to put, make sure that you follow the similar type of color. I mean, color combination. It will give a differentiated look. Because see, in one slide you put a red, white, blue, black, and next one you put again pink, magenta, and all those things. It will not look good. That is general presentation. You don't do that in a technical presentation. So if you are selecting this kind of thing, make sure that you follow the same. If you observe carefully, there is no table caption, right? You see that there is no source. That means this work has been done by the student himself, right? If there is any table, see here, it's looking odd because this is a table, this is another. It should not be this way. If you're using this one, try to make sure that it is consistent throughout. Okay. So I think I have touched upon most of the important points. So I'll keep some time so that I can take your questions, and through that also, I think you will have a little bit of clarity.